What's up and welcome to My Point of View. I am your fat and opinionated host. And when Bryan Kohberger got arrested and we started finding out more about him and we found out that he was also a college student that was going to Washington State University. He lived, 10 miles away from the Moscow House. He was really close to the University of Idaho. So one thing I always wondered was, did Bryan Kohberger ever go to the campus, the University of Idaho campus? Was he ever on campus watching these individuals or watching other individuals? I mean, he would blend right in to the average person. Now, I would see Kohberger and I would automatically know, like, hey, I don't want to be around that guy. But other people, he blends right in. He's a student himself. And in the hustle and bustle of campus, no one's going to think twice. They see this guy. It's not like a high school or a middle school where you'll see someone and know, like, hey, is this a new kid or something? So that's something that's been on my mind for a while, especially once we found out that he was basically stalking some of these individuals. Well, today, the news just broke. 3 students from the University of Idaho have stepped forward, all of which are claiming that they saw Bryan Kohberger on campus at the University of Idaho. Without further ado, I don't even want to hold you guys up. I'm going to dive right into this article because this is something I've really been wanting to know. As police have investigated the November unalivings of 4 University of Idaho students, they have attempted to recreate the daily whereabouts of the man suspected of hurting them. In December, authorities arrested Bryan Kohberger and charged him with 4 counts of murder. But Kohberger didn't attend the University of Idaho. He was a graduate student at Washington State University, approximately 8 miles away across the state line. But 3 different students from the University of Idaho say that they believe they saw Kohberger at the Student Union building on the Idaho campus in the weeks before the unalivings, and that they later recognized him after he was arrested for the Idaho 4 incident. It was really early in the semester, recalls Chelsea, a sophomore at the University of Idaho. He was at the food court of the student union, drinking water. He sat by himself. He was the type to stare, she continues. He wouldn't look away if you caught him staring, like he wanted you to notice that he was looking at you. He didn't smile, he didn't nod, didn't say anything, he just stared. I told my friend to not be suspicious, but to look at him, because the eye contact was making me uncomfortable. She continues, it was so weird that we ended up leaving and eating outside because we wanted to get away from him. Now I want to pause right there. We've heard a lot about this, Bryan Kohberger was a real looker. And what I mean by that, like he would look at you dead in your eyes, stare you dead in your face. And he didn't have the normal social cues of like looking away. No, he would just creepily look at you with this blank-like stare. And in my opinion, I think there's a huge possibility that Bryan Kohberger tried to fit in and act as normal as possible at his college, at his school, and then maybe he would go be a creep on the University of Idaho campus. Maybe that's where he would prey on people, try to find some victims, which he ultimately did. So I'm thinking that there's a big possibility that was Bryan's hunting ground in a way. Because what business did he have over here? And why was he creeping random ladies out who were just trying to live their life? Staring them down and stuff like that. But let's go forward. Another student says that she saw Kohberger frequently enough around campus that she assumed he was a student at the University of Idaho. It's not a huge school. It's like a small town, she says. You start seeing the same faces again and again and again. They become familiar. Like that you've seen them in class or around campus. I definitely saw him more than once. He was just really quiet and really intense staring. He made me uncomfortable. So we now have 3 accounts from people at the University of Idaho, all of which basically have the same story. They're all young women, all college students at the University of Idaho. 2 were together, the other one is a separate occasion. But they all recall seeing Bryan Kohberger. And the reason seeing him was memorable for them is because Bryan Kohberger stared at them intensely and made them feel uncomfortable. I mean, 2 of these women had to leave from where they were at because Kohberger just would not stop looking at them. And it was so bad that he's staring at one girl and she's like tapping her friend on the shoulder like, hey, look at this dude. Is he staring at us? As she looks and he just continues to stare. So in my mind, he was probably going over to the University of Idaho. He was probably acting weird and creepy over there, doing Lord knows what over there, while trying to maintain a sense of normalcy at home over at his college, Washington State University. That's what I think is going on here. But at the very least, these are details that I really wanted. I want to know what extent Bryan went to track down these victims. Was he there specifically looking for them? Was he looking for other people? I'm really interested in finding out what connection, what made Bryan choose the people that he chose. Especially if he's here at Washington or at the University of Idaho creeping these other women out. Who knows? Maybe those were going to be the women he chose. So I think there's a reason why he chose who he chose. I don't think that they necessarily knew him, but I think there's something there, something weird there. But knowing that he was at this other campus, it freaks me out. I'm sure it freaks everyone out. I know it freaks these kids out as well. But let me know your thoughts about this. Did you suspect that he did something like this? Because this was one of my first thoughts early on, that he could just go and watch them on campus, blend right in. I mean, college campuses, you could just walk right on a college campus and mingle around like you're just one of the students. So Bryan Kohberger could have definitely blended in and watched these individuals like he was watching these other women. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. And remember, always remain opinionated.